There's not some secret code or hack that successful people do than others. It's insight without action. It's useless. It's knowledge is great, but it's not power, it's potential power. I know a lot of things, but I'm not doing it. I'm not living it. I'm not executing, moving. What good is it?
Let's go. Yeah, make it look easy. Hey, stand up.
The Ryan Hanley Show shares the original ideas, habits, and mindsets of world-class original thinkers you can use to produce extraordinary results in your life and business. This is the way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we have a tremendous conversation for you, a mind-blowing conversation for you with Rebecca Fitzsimmons. She's a former NCIS special agent, now turned holistic leadership coach. And what holistic means is not just approaching the technical or business aspects of our leadership, but also looking into our mind, our body, and how that plays a role in our success as leaders. I guarantee at least one of the ideas that Rebecca shares is going to get you tilting your head and jotting down notes, because this one is filled with value. And I mean filled. This is one of the best leadership conversations that I've ever had on this show. So just get prepared for that. But before we get to Rebecca, my friends, it's time to start chasing leads and start closing deals. In today's economy, we cannot afford to waste leads. And there was only one system, the one call close system that I invented at my business, Rogue Risk, that allowed us to scale so fast we were acquired within 2 years. My own personal close ratio was 89.1%, and that is writing hundreds of accounts a month. We were taking reps coming in at a 25% close ratio and driving them up north of 80% within a 3-month period using this system. And if you want to learn more, if you want that kind of action, that kind of close ratio, those types of ROI on the inbound opportunities that you generate for your business, if you want that for your business, go to masteroftheclose.com. That's masteroftheclose.com. You'll learn more about the program, learn more about the system, and if it's right for your business, which it is. I love you for watching this show. I love you for listening to this show. I love you for being part of this community. And my ask is that you share the show. If you enjoy this content, if Rebecca brings value, if our conversation brings any kind of joy or value to your life, please share the show. It means a tremendous amount to me. I love you for being here. Let's get on to Rebecca Fitzsimmons. Rebecca, hi. It's great to have you on the show.
Wonderful to be here, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I in researching what you're doing, I love kind of your approach. I love how you weave dogs into your work. I think you have this unique style, and but I guess, you know, and this is probably where a lot of people start, but I'm just so interested. How do you become an NCIS special agent? Like, how did that career path take shape?
Yeah, so for me, it started with my degree, which is in forensic and investigative science. And as a part of that program, I had to have a mandatory completion of an internship requirement. So I was kind of looking at, crime labs and traditionally where you think, crime scene investigation, things of that nature. And I had a buddy who's now an FBI agent say, "Hey, Rebecca, have you heard of NCIS? You'd be great." And I'm like, "What's NCIS?" Because this was before the TV show.
Yeah.
And I looked into it and I'm like, oh, I can weave in, my crime scene investigation and forensic science and that analytical nature with all of the other amazing things, that investigation, that curiosity, and all the things that I leaned into. So that was kind of the beginning of the end, so to speak. So I applied, I got it. I had an internship at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Absolutely loved everything about being a special agent and supporting our warfighters and the global footprint. And my spirit is very adventurous. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I love our country. I love our military. So that's how it kind of molded and took shape. And a couple years later, I was an NCIS agent traveling the world, and it's been amazing. It's been
and
a
now
ride.
They make TV shows about you.
They do. They do make TV shows about us, and I try not to watch it, but you know, it's all good.
Yeah. Is it hard? I mean, have you ever watched a show? Like, is it hard to not like pick apart reality from what's in the show?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I will say the show and the producers are amazing. I've had the opportunity to consult with the show because they mirror our criminal investigations and other things to make it as real as possible. So I have a lot of respect for them, and I've met some of the actors and actresses. So it's been wonderful. But I would say, yeah, it is kind of funny when you watch NCIS or any type of show that has a crime scene investigation. And I laugh because I'm like, wow, I wish I could get results back within 3 minutes. Yeah. Or, you know, I wave my wand and everything is, you know, solved within, you know, how long are the shows? 45 minutes, an hour. Yeah. That would be nice. But that's not reality. So it's lighthearted, but I do enjoy watching it every now and then.
What was it originally drew you to the investigation process, law enforcement in general, and just being in that world?
Oh, great question. I haven't been asked this in a long time. My uncle and aunt were in law enforcement in my very tiny town in northeastern Ohio, and I always had so much respect for what they do. And it wasn't really until, kind of as I indicated earlier, when I was in college and that internship that really showcased everything that I was interested in and my skill set, what I was really good at. I'm a very curious person, very inquisitive. I like to ask questions. I like to learn. I like to lean in, coupled with helping people. At its, you know, one of my core values and things that, you know, my North Star in life is I love impacting others. I love supporting and helping them. And if I can do that for victims, if I can do that for our country, I would be so honored to do it. And I don't come from a military background. My parents aren't in the military, but having that ability to support specifically the Department of Navy with NCIS, so our United States Marines and our sailors and the United States Navy has been so transformative in so many ways.
Yeah. I was 1 day away from signing a contract to become a nuclear engineer for the Navy.
Wow.
Back when I was in high school, we took there was some test that we took, and I don't know if it's New York specific or whatever, because I grew up in New York, that we took some test, and however I scored in the math and physics portion put me in some level that then I started being recruited. And I was very interested. And I went way down the path. I took a couple more tests and scored into the program. And basically the recruiter shows up and says, look, we want you to become a nuclear engineer. It's going to mean 10 years, but you come out, you know, X level officer and here and blah, blah, blah. And all that sounded great. I mean, I was super into it. And, but I also wanted to play baseball in college. And this is like the decisions we make at 18. This is why, like, when people say 18-year-olds should be making important decisions, this is my life story and trajectory is a case study in this. So so he comes, I said, you know, I'm like, I think I'm going to do it. Like, just give me 2 days. And he goes, okay, I can give you 2 days, but like, we got to start, I got to start locking people in, whatever. I'm sure that was partially a sales tactic, but long story short, in those 2 days, I get a full scholarship to go play baseball at the University of Rochester. And at 18, I was like, okay, 6'4" in a submarine for 9 months at a time for 4 years, or play college baseball for free. And 18-year-old brain went that way.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, I have a lot of regrets that I didn't serve because I have a lot of the same feelings towards our country and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, outside of, you know, enjoying the work and it challenging you and feeding into some of your natural tendencies around curiosity, learning, leaning in, like, what did kind of just being part of the discipline regimen of the military, has that transitioned into your life today? Because I know for some people that I know that have been in the military, they go the opposite way, right? They're like, screw this, I'm not living that life anymore. And for others, it then becomes just embedded in who they are. So I'm assuming I know the answer, but I'm interested.
Yeah, great question. So for me, yeah, it definitely helped mold and shape me into the human, the leader, the professional, the everything I am today. And I would say mostly, and it was really probably a result of all the different duty assignments I've had. I was not so traditional in that I worked across all disciplines in NCIS. So I worked in criminal investigations, I worked in counterintelligence, I worked in counterterrorism, and I did that around the world, living in Italy, all over the United States. And by virtue of that, I had such an opportunity and privilege, I'm going to call it, to work with so many different teams, so many talented special agents and intelligence specialists and you name it. And it forced me to do different things and learn different things and develop different skill sets and refine the ones that I had. And through all of those experiences, and even post NCIS and the private sector, and certainly within my business, the same thing kept coming to the surface, and that was holistic leadership and mindset. That was the undeniable truth and the trajectory to success. And so having that, and I call it a victory mindset, and this is what I train my clients on. And there's 4 components of that victory mindset, and leaning into that and training my teams and building those resilience and grit muscles. And it always led to success, no matter the person, the industry, the level. And so that is why I am so very passionate. It is the essence and the spirit of why I launched my business, Tactical Harmony. And that's why I'm here today. So my gratitude is immense.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And maybe you could break down the 4 factors that you talked about, because to me, and this is why I love having individuals like yourself on the show who really dive into mindset. You know, when I talk to any leaders or anyone who reaches out to me, I always tell them no strategy or tactic is the reason a company failed. A company failed, the vast majority of the time. Really, I think it's edge cases that ever have a tactical or strategy issue. It's the leader or leadership team did not have the right mindset to build the right culture, to make the right decisions, etc. That's where this all stems from. Like, if you come back to it, it's not because you ran this ad campaign or you bought this new technology, which is where we spend all our time. So I guess maybe before you give your 4, why do you think it seems to be coming back a little bit, but so few people actually take time out of their day to work on their mindset? They give it lip service, but they don't actually work on it. Why do you think that is, when I think everybody nods when we say mindset is what matters most, yet we put so little work into it? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, great question. And I completely agree and align with everything you said. It super resonates with me. And it really is 80% mindset, 20% strategy or mechanics. That's success. There's not some secret code or hack that successful people do than others. It's mindset and working on themselves. But I think really it's insight without action. It's useless. It's knowledge is great, but it's not power. It's potential power. And I think that's something that Tony Robbins has said. It is potential power, because if I know a lot of things, but I'm not doing it, I'm not living it, I'm not executing, moving, what good is it? And so I feel like a lot of people, it's really it's lack of awareness, or maybe if they're aware, they could be a little scared of it. Like, ooh, I have to be alone with my demons, or I have to confront something in myself that I haven't healed. I don't know how that would look. And that's the exact thing, that limiting belief, that fear, that's what's holding them back. And it'll manifest in such incredible ways. It could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be you feel stuck, or maybe you have a short fuse, you're frustrated with your team or your loved ones. There's a million ways it can manifest. But I would argue with any one person, it always comes back to mindset and looking within and examining all parts of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. So then you are leaner, stronger, better, and faster. And then you are the better professional, the better leader, the better mom, dad, sister, brother. And so it really is that beautiful threshold of, okay, I got this. I know what I need to do. And then doing it. And that's where I come in. I push them over that edge.
Yeah, that's it's funny. I was talking to a guy who's been a very successful consultant for a long time. He's a friend of mine, and we were just rapping about stuff one day, and he looks at me and he goes, people pay me to be the bad guy. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, people pay me to come in, and whether I'm working specifically with an individual leader and I'm yelling, I'm doing air quotes for those who are just listening, but yelling at them to push them to where do they need to go, or I'm helping them make the tough decisions that they don't want to make inside their business. He's like, basically people pay me money to be a bad guy. And I was like, I don't know that I love the idea of a coach being a bad guy, although I understand where it's coming from and think it's funny. I was like, but it really is kind of, if we don't have someone in our lives, right, whether it's hiring like someone like yourself as a coach or a mentor or accountability partner, doing it on our own is very, very difficult. And I think so many people are scared to ask for help, right? Do you find that? And how do you get people over that? Like if someone feels like they need you, but they're really struggling, like how do you help them understand that it is okay to ask other people for help? Because that's where I see a lot of people get stuck, is they try to do it on their own. Nobody successful that I know does it on their own. No one.
I agree completely. Yeah. You need, the coaches need coaches. The mentors need mentors. And we all need to look ahead at someone that's ahead of us to save us time and years of needless struggle or pain. And I really lean into, hey, I've been there. I'm not just saying the things in lip service, I'm walking the walk, I'm talking the talk. And I can specifically remember one time where I didn't ask for help. And it was this high profile investigation and task force that I was running. And it took me a long time to ask for help. Was that my ego? Was that I was just, doing the next thing that was in front of me and focusing on, the tactics and getting the things done? Whatever it was, is that's a failure. That is not something that I'm proud of. And the moment I asked for help, I was able to get the breath of fresh air. I was able to do more. I wasn't risking any operational risk or anything of that nature. And so often people think they can do it themselves, or they could label it, and this is where I see it. They're labeling it as, oh, that's weak. Well, I don't need help. I don't need to read the book, hire the coach. And I would lovingly tell that person that nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And what the meaning that we give anything, that intentionality, as soon as I'm labeling something, then I'm putting it into a bucket in my brain. And our brains want to do that. They want to keep us safe in the known and the familiar. So love you, brain, for that. But having that radical awareness and keeping myself in check, I'm going to know better that, hey, if I'm labeling something in a certain way, I need to check myself, and I need to do that because I love myself and I have discipline, and I'm going to make sure that whatever is happening, whether it's, I'm doing air quotes, good or bad, it's going to serve me. It's either a lesson or it's a blessing. It's going to build my character, right? No bad days, character building days. Or it's something like, hell yeah, I crushed that project, or I crushed the whatever it is. And I'm going to repeat that because that was a successful strategy or a successful mindset hack, whatever it is. So, success really does leave little breadcrumbs or clues, and we should all lean in from it and not, try to go it alone.
Where do you fall on like the concept of manifesting and maybe positive affirmations, talking, just being optimistic with yourself? I was not a believer for a long time. I thought it was just nonsense. And then I started journaling in a time when I was really struggling to make a decision. I was just having a hard time making a decision, and I started journaling for whatever reason. And in the journaling came like a lot of positive, and it was like almost like I was tricking myself to believe something that was very positive. I mean, it was a good thing, but like do you believe in that? Do you think it's a good practice? Like, where does that fall in this positive self-talk, like almost convincing yourself that you're capable or whatever?
Oh yeah, 1000%. And I think people call it different things. Manifestation, law of attraction. I mean, there's a lot of different terms people can use, but the short answer for me is yes. So thoughts really do become things, right? Like what we think, we become, and we're looking through that lens. And if we're not paying attention to our thoughts, and we are truly the creators of our reality, everything around us is a crystallization of what we created. We have to start with our thoughts. But beyond that, it's thoughts coupled with a feeling. So I can say, I'm so great, I am a magnet for abundance, and all those things are great. And we should say that because what we're doing is we're imprinting our subconscious And subconscious mind, different than our conscious mind. It's always listening. It has no sense of humor. So it's your blueprint. Everything is imprinted on you. So yes, I think that's important, but we need to couple it with that emotion and that feeling that we want. So raising your frequency, raising your energy is truly important for peak performance. You need to raise your energy. I do that by doing a quick workout or some push-ups or squats, which I did before this call. Anytime I have something big or important in front of me, I'm going to raise my energy and I'm going to talk to myself in a way that's empowering and that's going to get me from where I am to where I want to go. And for the listeners that may be familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, he really leans into this as far as your thoughts and your feelings create your state of being. And it really creates this Wi-Fi signal. So I can think things, but when I'm coupling that with an amazing high energy peak state, I'm going to collapse time and get that thing to me quicker. I'm going to have more clarity. I'm going to feel damn good when I'm doing it. And you kind of create reality instead of waiting, instead of being reactive, you're really proactive. And another thing that you had mentioned regarding journaling, I dismissed it for so long. I'm like, I'm not going to journal. That and gratitude practice. Those were the two. Yeah. I'm not going to do this thing. I don't know. But then when I started to do it, that intentionality for both gratitude and for journaling, it changed the game for me because I was rewiring my brain in a different way. Neurons that fire together, wire together. I'm relearning. I'm bringing that deliberation, that intentionality so radically different while raising my frequency and my vibration by being so incredibly freaking grateful for everything, for the failures, I'm doing air quotes, for the things that I've learned, for the amazing things that have happened to me. And it really changed the game for me. So I really leaned into those in Tactical Harmony.
Do you have a process for that? Is it random? Is it like morning pages? Is there... And I know this is kind of a hyper-tactical question, but I'm always interested in kind of where people's brains go. I've always been very freeform or like morning pages kind of style, just like barf the thoughts out of my head that I wake up with. But I have other friends who use more guided methods or, bullet point methods or whatever. So how do you, when you're kind of journaling or getting these thoughts out of your head, do you have a specific process?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of A, a little bit of B. So I mostly lean into free form. What I really tune into my intuition and the wisdom within. So what is feeling right in that moment might look different from day to day or even hour to hour. So I really lean into that. But there's also, a lot of questions that I could ask myself because I really believe the quality of the questions we ask ourselves determine the quality of the answers that we get. So if we're asking the wrong questions, we're not going to get the right answers. So I really lean into, honest, raw look within. So I am having a meaningful exchange with my journal. And then when I review it, it's giving me the feedback because I truly believe that all answers lie within, which really leans into the mindset. So then, my what and why are super powerful. The how is going to come. The strategy, the how to develop this, how to launch a business, that's going to come because I have such a fierce knowing, a fierce internal knowing. And one thing that I do before journaling is every single morning, and I normally journal in the morning as well, I raise my frequency by gratitude. So before my feet hit the ground, and especially as I'm coming out of, certain brain waves when you're sleeping, and that's when you're most susceptible and you're most programmable. Is that a word? Programmable? So I'm coming out before I hit beta, which is your analytical state. So I'm coming from theta to alpha. Immediately, I anchor into gratitude. Is it the smell of coffee brewing in the morning? Is it the love I share with my husband? Is it being an entrepreneur and all the lessons I learned? Is it I love my dogs, which I do, and I'm so grateful for them. And then you feel it, biochemistry, like you're releasing those chemicals. I'm programming myself, and then I'm setting these powerful intentions for the day. I'm going to have a great day. That's how it works. And so I do that before the journaling so my energy's up and it's more successful.
How do you respond to someone who hears all that and says, that sounds amazing, but I'm too busy, too stressed. I have 6 kids. My job forces me to work odd hours, insert excuse, because I had this conversation, and here's the context of this question. I was talking to my kids the other day about, specifically in the context of their baseball that they play, and versus video games. And I said, you can optimize your fake life, or you can optimize your real life, and that's your choice, right? And I think that translates to so much else. Like for adults, that's more like they fall into these, I'm not going to work out because I'm stressed. I'm going to, have 3 drinks every night because I deserve it for how hard I worked, right? And you're taking these, and the equation is these short-term little hits versus what you are describing is the same feeling, if not better, but it's long-term. And that trade-off, and this is a question that people have been asking for ages, so I don't expect you to have maybe the be-all, end-all answer, but I'm interested in your take on how do we start to move away from making these short-term pleasure decisions to get to doing things like what you just described, which does take work and commitment and discipline, but gets you so much farther over the long term. How do you make people see that gap?
Yeah, this is an incredible question, and yeah, I could speak to hours for this. And there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of things to implement, but really it's like you don't, like the price you're paying for that small hit, that small whatever it is, it's like, but then when you get the bill from regret, and I think there's a famous quote out there for that, that's a big thing, right? And I think often we don't want people to get to that point where they're drowning and they're rock bottom and then they have to do something, because that's a lot harder. And a lot of people have to reach that point, that destination point in their journey to get to be like, okay, I need to do something different, like something's got to give. So there's a lot of strategy there, and a couple of things. It's really time management. So like, as you said, you even said the word, it's an excuse. It's an excuse, because if you're what and why are powerful enough, you're going to do it. And that's where discipline comes in. And that I define that as the ultimate expression of self-love. I love myself enough that I'm going to PT, physically train every day. I love myself enough that I'm going to take the time, the 5 minutes to meditate, or the 10 minutes to go within and make sure that I'm good to go. So I'm actually going further, faster, and sustainably, which is a key. If they knew that, hey, this is a good one, is leverage. If you have enough leverage on yourself or someone you love, you're going to do it. If I were to say, Ryan, and this might be a little harsh, but sometimes you need to be very direct and bold to get someone's attention. Hey, I know you say you got all these things and you know, there's not enough time. And, I do call BS on that, because you could get up earlier and you can do these things. But if I were to say, like, I'm going to take, your loved one and I'm going to hurt them within 30 days if you don't do X, Y, and Z. And you say you want these things and you're giving me every excuse not to do it, you would find a way to do it. You would never subject your loved one to any kind of harm or pain, because that's leverage. So what I do is I find what that leverage, what that motivation is, what that source of truth is for that person. It can look different for everybody, and you threaten it, because people want to either move toward pleasure or away from pain. So finding that balance, and you get enough leverage, they start to do the thing and they're like, oh wow, I'm feeling better. Oh wow. And you just got to push them over that initial, that threshold of where they haven't crossed before, and they're going to immediately see results. Immediately. That's how the game works. There's no secret code. And so it's really getting them past right up here to that point, because when they start moving, they're like, oh, this wasn't so scary as the narrative that I created in myself. Oh, she was right about all these things, right? And so that's where I lean into, is the time management, the leverage, what their core values are, what's motivating them to kind of push them over the edge. Because the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is today. And we're already thinking about it, we're too late. So creating that sense of urgency can also be very helpful for people to support them.
Now I see the NCIS special agent tie-in. In order to get you to do this thing, I'm gonna go kidnap your spouse. You won't get her back until you actually take this action.
Oh, it works. It works. Like, think about, like, if someone threatened my husband and I've been like delaying doing the thing, my ass is gonna move. Like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it amazingly. And it's like, you just need that, like, push over the edge. I know it sounds harsh, but
No,
It works.
you're not gonna. Trust me, the people that listen to this show, you are not gonna offend them with some of the shit that comes out of my mouth. So I have this. It's gonna become a TED Talk, but I have this theory that I've been working on. Because I was at a conference that I was speaking at, and there was another speaker, and they were talking about fear of failure, and I thought they did a great job, except I was never convinced that failure is what people are actually concerned about. In my mind, I think failure is a glossing, a shiny sticker on top of what the real problem is, which is a fear of status, right? The reason I don't want to get in shape is because all my buddies have beer guts and they like to drink beer on Thursdays, and we crack jokes about the new beer or whatever we're drinking. And man, if I stop drinking so much and get in shape, now I'm going to be different than all my buddies. And that may sound crazy to people at face value, but when you really dig into the mindset, this is what holds people back. My parents always wanted me to be this thing. They put, an engineer, and they put these expectations on me, etc. But I want to create YouTube videos for a living. Mm-hmm. What are they going to think of me? What are my parents? What are my siblings going to think of me if I give up this life as an engineer and become a YouTube creator because I've always been artistic, right? It's not that they're worried about not being successful as a YouTube creator. They're worried about what the people in their space will think of them when they make this move. Like that's the thing that they're actually scared of, not the failure. Okay. And my point in saying all that is so much of this is being able to get rid of the outside voice's impact on your inside world. How do you work with clients to be more true to what's going on inside of them versus the inputs they're getting from all these other people towards their action, if that makes sense? And do you believe what I just said? Does that make sense, what I just said?
Yes, a resounding yes. I actually just did a podcast on this, on my Tactical Harmony podcast. So yeah, I completely align with this. And I think, and this is where being inquisitive and really digging in, you start to peel all these layers back like an onion, and you start to get to the core and the truth. Are people afraid of failure? Yeah, sure, maybe on the surface. But as you said, there's all these other elements to it. And people's opinions of you, people's anything, thoughts of you, that's a projection of their reality. That's a projection of what they hold dear or what they don't like or their insecurities, which is usually the case. And so when I have a lot of most of my clients, I'm worried about what someone thinks. And what about my husband, or I'm doing this thing, but my loved one isn't aligned, or what would my parents think? I totally get this, because my unconventional path from NCIS to a tech company, I could have let other people's thoughts hold me back, but I didn't, because I knew what I wanted to do and I knew how I wanted to serve. And so whatever anyone believes in, God, creator, gave you your vision. It's in your heart and mind. Nobody else's, right? Like, I'm not in yours, you're not in mine. And so we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't move in alignment with that. And if we don't move in alignment with that, we're going to feel some sort of discord or lack of harmony in our mind, body, and spirit. And that's where holistic leadership comes in, because if I don't know myself radically and I'm not moving in alignment with what I give a damn about and what I hold dear, I'm going to feel a little stuck or frustrated, or something might feel off, insert whatever feeling. And so freeing yourself from other people's opinions and projections, because that's what it is, will give you that ability. It frees up that energy to then move in alignment with what is important to you. Because what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on, I'm giving my life force or my energy to, and that thing's going to expand. If I'm thinking about what I don't want, that shit's going to expand. That's going to become everything that I see. If I'm thinking about what I want relentlessly, and I'm disciplined, right? I got my self-love that I'm going to do the thing, and I'm going to do it every single day, and I'm going to move that ball down the field every single day in micro actions, then I'm going to be in alignment with my true self, my authentic self, because I'm not going to give it my energy away like that. I'm very radically aware of that. And I'm not going to let anyone live rent free in my head, because you're renting space to other people. And so when people start to reframe it, Ryan, to answer your question, how do you get past that? Reframing how you're thinking about it, reframing, does it matter? Like when I call it the rocking chair test. You're, 90 some years old and you're sitting on your front porch and you're in your rocking chair and you're looking back at your life. Is that person is that really gonna matter? Are you gonna have that bill of regret? Like, oh, why didn't I start the business I wanted? Why didn't I ask the girl? Why didn't I blah, 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 blah? Whatever it is, you don't want to have those feelings. So do the damn thing now. And you realize how insignificant other people's thoughts and projections are of you.
Yeah. When my kids ask me about hell, because my kids go to Catholic school, and they ask me, Dad, do you think hell is really a fiery pit down below? And I was like, no, I don't actually believe that. I was like, what I believe it is you get a snapshot when you die of what you could have been if you lived the path that God put you on, and what you are. And hell is the distance between those two things. And I just, like, it's so clear to me that we have so much more potential than we give ourselves credit for. And I love conversations like these because I vigorously take notes. I know I'm not supposed to as a podcast host. If I was a good podcast host, I wouldn't take notes. But there's so many ideas in here that, to me, are it's like, I feel like we have a set of tumblers to unlock this version of ourselves. And everybody's set of tumblers is different. For you, it might be your curiosity, right? That's a big tumbler for you. When you really tap into your curiosity, bam, you're closer to being that person. For someone else, it might be discipline's a bigger tumbler, right? They're all different things. But it's figuring out what these things are for us. And to your point, and why I love your message of action, is the only way to figure it out is to do shit. Like, fuck around and find out is an epic meme for a reason. Because it's like literally how we figure everything out in life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we get so hesitant and fearful. I want to spend the remainder of our time together digging into some of the core principles of this idea of holistic leadership, because I also know you have a book coming out soon and want to make sure that everyone knows about that and if there's a place for them to get on a waiting list or something for that. So maybe just dig us into this. I know we've talked about a lot of the mindset pieces, but any of the pieces that you feel we haven't touched yet, and maybe just a high-level idea of where this came from for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, so I want to define holistic leadership because I think a lot of people may misunderstand what it means. Like, you hear about holistic and you're like, oh, isn't that like doctor, naturopath? Yeah, that's part of it. But when you pair it with leadership on those two very important words, it's a game changer. So holistic leadership, the essence, is a whole person approach to influence and inspire your life as well as others' lives. Because I really, truly believe it starts with you. It's self-leadership. It's personal leadership. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. And this pertains to leadership in the traditional sense of the word. I'm a business leader. I have a team. I have direct reports, subordinates. But it's also leading your family, leading your children, leading your relationships. And I think so often, again, we put it into a bucket, but I'm here to expand your thinking of that. So if I uncover all parts of myself and I'm so radically aware socially and, my self-regulation, my self-awareness, which is emotional intelligence, and I also am doing that with you, myself, my relationship management and my awareness of you, I'm going to have a more meaningful life. I'm going to have a more meaningful relationship. I'm going to be a better leader at home and at work. And so that really does implement a no stone left unturned approach, because you're uncovering all parts of yourself. You're not ignoring one thing, and then you are able to go a lot faster. And so for part two of your question, for my book, so I derive wisdom from unconventional places. I absolutely love this. I think that goes into my curiosity. I'm a dog lover. I absolutely love dogs. And so my book is called Unleashed: Holistic Leadership Insights Derived from Our Canine Companions, and how they organically display these things in everything that they do, from expressing gratitude to mindfulness to discipline and grit, adventure and curiosity, love and connection, all the good things in life, all the things that we need as humans to be more powerful and to step into that next level of who we are meant to be. Dogs are doing it naturally. And so I weave in all of these things into my book to really awaken that leader within, but awaken you to the possibility and the things around you. So that is the essence of Unleashed and of holistic leadership and how it can utterly transform your life professionally and personally.
Yeah, I love that concept. I think we often, you see leaders who maybe do a good job for a period of time in their business, but then they completely neglect personal relationships, personal health, personal energy, any type of relationship to God, etc. And that great leadership can't last. It's in there, but something always ends up coming out if we don't take care of both sides of the equation. I think a lot of people who live, we'll call them externally successful professional careers and very poor personal lives, they would say that they couldn't spend time on themselves because they have to get the business successful. So how do you work through, I hate the word balance, so I'm going to use the word harmony,
yes,
that it takes to navigate both?
I love that. Yes, tactical harmony. That's why I call it harmony, which balance is a part of that. But words mean something. They also carry energy. Everything is energy. Emotions, energy and emotion. Everything is energy. So when we're looking at the word balance, it would insinuate, well, it has to be balance, 50-50. And I call bullshit on that because there's going to be weeks, months, even years where I'm like, full court press on my work, my business, whatever that could be professionally. And then there could be times, and there will be, where it's more on my personal life and my relationships and my loved ones and my parents or whatever it is. And so having the harmony between the two is the goal. And it is an art, and it's going to look different a little bit every day. It's going to look different between me and you. But when you start to do those things, self-leadership, one, as a leader, you're setting the tone, you're setting the example. Others are watching you, whether you realize it or not. Everyone's watching. And psychologically, or they're paying attention and they're going to, mimic what you do. So if nothing else, do it for other people, which, goes into the leverage. Yeah. But it's time management. And I know that's a term that we all say, but it really is. Because where I place my time, and this goes into habits, that's my energy. That's my life force. If I have a habit of working out in the morning, or, I have a habit of brushing my teeth or eating my breakfast, I'm in this routine. But if you switch it up, heads up, your body's going to throw a temper tantrum. Whoa, I haven't seen this movie before. What are you doing? And then that's your job and your mind to make sure, like a wild stallion, you are taming it. No, I'm in control. I'm going to have you sit down and meditate. I'm going to have you sit down and do the damn thing. Because when you start doing the damn thing, whatever it is, that action, you get feedback. You can't get feedback if you don't move, if you don't execute. Because feedback is a gift, and it's like, oh, wow, I'm going to adjust, I'm going to adapt, I'm going to pivot. But you can't get that unless you do the damn thing, right? So there's a lot of things to unpack there, but those would be my initial thoughts.
Are there any current, I want to delicate with this, unless you go in a direction, whatever it takes, wherever you want. I struggle with our current societal normalization of ideas of mediocrity and average. And the book that I'm working on, that I told you about with my friend, it's called The Civilized Savage, From Mediocre to Mastery in an Age of Cultural Conformity. And our whole premise is that we have normalized a lower baseline of what is okay, and it's on all of us. And in the whole context of the book is we walk through these 10 lessons that his great-grandfather taught to his grandfather, who taught to his father, that has been passed down through this Italian lineage. These 10 lessons that have allowed him to live a very disciplined, highly successful life, and whatever, right? And what are some of the things that we can be looking out for, maybe in today's ecosystem, marketplace, society, however you want to go, that can keep us from living this life? What are some of the ideas maybe that have become normalized, etc.?
Yeah, this is a great question. You're asking such amazing questions. I love this. I would say to people, again, and to raise their awareness, is we always fall to what our self-worth is. If I think I'm only good enough to do X, Y, Z, that's what I'm going to do. And it's your self-worth. And I know people use different words, and I actually don't like this term, like imposter syndrome. But like, who am I to start a business? Who am I to, sign up for the Ironman, whatever it is that you might want to call in? Well, you're going to fall to what you think you can. So a tactic that I always share is you got to raise your standard. If you're good, well, good's not good enough anymore. Look around. Look how many successful people there are, right? So then you need to raise it, from good to excellent. Okay, well, there's a lot of excellent people. Raise it from excellent to outstanding. You raise that standard, because how close you are to hitting your goal. It can be just a couple millimeters. I mean, look at, surgeons. Like, if they were 1 millimeter off, like, plastic surgery or whatever you do, whatever kind of surgery, like, it's so precise. But you got to raise your standard. You got to do the thing, because you are so close. And people, again, they create this narrative and they romanticize the outcome, but they don't do the damn work. They don't do the execution that gets you there. So I can romanticize all day. Great, awesome. But if I'm not executing, I'm killing my dreams, my goals, my desires. So raising that standard. And I think also another tactic here, Ryan, is people think it's got to be this big thing. Like, they start at the finish line instead of starting at the start line. I'm not going to go from 0 to running, a marathon, we'll just say. If you're doing 10 push-ups, okay, great. Tomorrow do 11. And then do that for a week. And then the next week, I want you to do 15. Like, it's those micro actions, it's that small incremental step every single day, and it's consistency. So, I don't get a 6-pack by going to the gym once a week. I do that consistently. I show up. I have the discipline. I have that victory mindset. I love myself enough to make it happen. And then I'm going to get the results. 100% I'm going to get the results. Or I'm going to get the feedback where I need to adjust my strategy, adjust my mindset, and only made possible by moving and taking that inspired action.
Yeah, the statistic, sorry, my allergies are crushing me today and I'm butchering some words. The statistic that James Clear had in Atomic Habits, that if you get 1% better every day, you're 37x better at the end of the year. That is so incredibly powerful. And like, if you only saw that stat from that book, reading the entire book is worthwhile, because what it shows is exactly what you just said. Everybody can get 1% better each day. Like you said, it's one more push-up, right? That's technically 10% better than the day before. Right? You go from 10 to 11. So, these little, it's just, Ed Milet wrote a book called The Power of One More. And it's a really good book, although and there's tons of great stuff in it, although you can kind of get the idea just from the title. And Ed Milet's fantastic, great podcast. But this idea of like you said, just give yourself one more. You don't have to go to 20. 20 might be the goal, right? But what we do is we go, well, today I could only get to 11, so I'm a failure. I suck. I'm no good. I only got to 11. I should be at 20. My buddy John's at 20. He's doing 20. I should be doing 20, and because I'm only doing 11, it's like, yeah, but if you just think about it, one more each day, in 10 days you'll be there. It's just 9, it's 9 more days of work. Just 9 more days and you'll be right with your buddy. What's 9 days in the course of your life? It's really nothing. And that concept, to me, is the difference between the people who get to where they want to be and the people that don't. They take these little tiny bites. They may have the big goal. They may do the press release on the big goal. They may stand on stage and talk about the big goal. But in their life, it's this tiny little bite, tiny little bite, tiny little bite, tiny little bite. It's absolutely fantastic. What is one question that you had wished I had asked during this podcast?
Oh, goodness. You asked all the questions. Let me think. Gosh, we covered such amazing ground, and I want to just express my appreciation for that. Maybe I can share the 4 components of victory mindset.
Yes.
I can do that. Would that be okay?
Yeah, let's make sure. Let's give them a tease, and we can drive them to find out more about you. Yeah.
So just real briefly, victory mindset, and I believe this is a key code to success, y'all. So tune in. Number one is discipline, which I already talked about. That ultimate expression of self-love. So really thinking about you love yourself enough to make the thing happen. Number two would be, the second component of that would be integrity, which we touched on a little bit, is that living that authentic life, that I know myself so well that I am living a life that matches that. I'm not worrying about what other people think, because we know comparison is a joy, thief joy. Like, you're stealing my joy when I'm comparing myself, right? And I'm giving my power away and my energy, which we touched on. So when I'm living a life that is authentically aligned and aligned with my values, I call this soul aligned ambition. Everything that I do is a manifestation, crystallization of who I am and what I was put here to do on earth. I'm going to feel great. Abundance is going to flow. And I don't just mean financial. I mean emotional, spiritual, mental abundance. Abundance in all forms is going to flow. So having that integrity and that honesty with your life is huge. Third is taking inspired action. So not just any action, inspired. And by that, very simply, I mean, I'm not just doing something to stay busy, because I can be busy and not making progress all day. But I'm doing things that are actually getting me the results. I'm doing the things, I'm paying attention to my inputs, right? Usually it's like 20% of your inputs give you 80% of your results, the 80-20 rule. The Pareto principle is I'm paying attention to that. So I'm doing those things and I'm doing more of them to get me whatever I need in my results, personally and professionally. And the fourth component is grace. Grace with yourself, grace with your creator, with God, grace with others. Because perfection is not the goal. That doesn't exist. It's like the lowest standard. It's progress. It's doing the thing. It's having like Kaizen, which is a Japanese term for continuous incremental improvements every single day, as we talked about, leaning into that consistency, but knowing that some days I'm not going to hit the mark. Okay, cool. What did I learn from it? Right? I'm going to be selfish, and I think selfish gets a bad rap. I'm going to be selfish because I want to know what I can do to get better, stronger, leaner, faster. And then I'm not going to make that mistake again, because I'm going to fail forward and I'm going to grab. I call failure. It's my favorite F word. One of my favorite F words. So I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it. And that's part of the journey, is that sometimes we're given opportunities that could piss us off and, frustrate us. But that's the thing that we need on our journey to build the muscle that we need on our trajectory. And we may not know it at the time. This isn't fair. Why is this happening? But then I build that grit, resilience, or whatever I need. And then 5-10 years down the road, maybe it makes sense. Oh, I've seen this picture before. I got this. I can figure this out. And I can be a blessing to others and have that beautiful exchange. Because I believe it's a spiritual game. And so victory mindset, those 4 components, is something that, has truly transformed my life and everyone around me.
Yeah. My favorite one is grace. Because I think that to me, it's the difference between how, like exactly the way you said, it's the difference between framing something bad as a lesson or as some scar that we have to carry around. And we're not good at it in general. It doesn't seem like an intuitive quality. It seems like something we have to learn. And the more we show grace, I feel like it gets passed along. Mm-hmm. I've seen that in different communities where when you're graceful to yourself and to others, that tends to spread. That's a concept that spreads. And that's wonderful that it's part of your victory mindset. Rebecca, this has been a tremendous conversation. I appreciate the hell out of you and what you're doing. I love this work. Do everything we can here at the show to support you. We'll have links to all your stuff in the show notes. Where is the best place for the audience to connect with you deeper and get more involved with your world?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I would say my website, tacticalharmony.com. It has all the ways to reach me. It has my Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the things. And so tacticalharmony.com has my services, every way to reach me. That's where I will be advertising my book couple of months. So yeah, I appreciate it. And before we end, Ryan, thank you for everything that you do. I am a huge fan of your podcast. I love the work you're doing. It's spreading such incredible messages and helping and serving others. And I'm honored to be here. I'm grateful to be your guest. So I'm very blessed. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, that means so much. Thank you.
Let's go. Yeah, make it look easy. Hey, stand up.
Thank you for listening to The Ryan Hanley Show. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a comment or review wherever you listen to podcasts.
Game ain't a thing for me. I never switched up, no change in me. The only thing changing is